What's going on YouTube? It's Giga here, bringing you some more Series 12 rental teams for you to try out. We are in April, which means the start of the month and a start of some really cool new teams. So please note that the last teams from the last video, for the most part, are no longer usable. I will talk a little bit about that. So hopping right in, so we have two teams that are still available from last month. The first of which is the Zoo Pals team. The idea is that these two teams are more for a best of three situation, and these are things that you could bring to like a tournament. And so the idea is to iteratively build on them every month. I haven't really had time to update these teams yet, but I do have a lot of ideas for changes that I want to make. So there will be an update next month. So we'll talk about the team quickly. It is going to be a standard Zacian Kyogre team. We are using a Scarf Kyogre just with the idea of getting a speed boost and being able to hit things hard before they can move. Kingdra is another really great member of this team. It is a Swift user going real fast, outspeeding Regieleki after the rain boost. It also has Icy Wind to lower speed. So one really cool thing to do versus Regieleki is go for Icy Wind, then Kyogre outspeeds and fire off a Water Spout and KO. You do have access to max Airstream and especially that big max Geyser being able to hit so hard with the rain up. So next up, we do have Zapdos. This is a really bulky Zapdos, and the idea is it is a late game sweeper. It is designed that you will always win the 1v1 versus Zacian, taking advantage of the Citrus Berry. So this is really something to leave kind of in the back. It's not really a main option. Your main sort of Dynamax options are going to be Kingdra and Ferrothorn. So next up, we do have Incineroar. It is pretty standard. We are running Throat Chop just to potentially stop some other opposing Incins. We are fairly slow though, so we're not always going to get the 1-up, but just definitely a good option to have. Other than that, pretty standard. We are running Safety Goggles just to deal better with things like Amoonguss. And finally, there is this Assault Vest Ferrothorn that has Gyro Ball, Body Press, Power Whip, and Knockoff. So Max Steel Spike really going to be a big one here, being able to boost the power of Body Press and then being able to clearly sweep from there. We do have a very favorable matchup into Calyrex and also just a lot of common things in the format, particularly Kyogre. I know that a lot of people are using Kartana because it's faster, but I do like the natural bulk that Ferrothorn has to offer, but definitely something I am considering. So this is the first team. Like I said, this is the same from last time. Definitely check it out for a more tournament setting. So next up, we do have another Zacian team, this time with Zacian Calyrex. This has just always been my go-to. Calyrex with Regigigas Weezing. It just really is my favorite combination. So first of all, we do have a much more offensive Zacian. The last one did have Substitute and was just trying to outbulk, whereas this one is just really trying to hit hard, where it does have more attack than Jolly Max attack Zacian, so that's really there. Play rough for things like Palkia, and then we did go for close combat over Sacred Sword, just trying to get that immediate damage. Next up, we do have Calyrex with the choice specs. The idea really is you are faster than pretty much everything in the format. How hard can you hit it before it can move? Astral Barrage really just decimating opponents. Leaf Storm really great for Kyogre and Groudon. So overall, just a really solid pick. So next up, we do have we'll just talk about the core of Regigigas Weezing. Regigigas essentially does give you a third restricted, being just such a powerful unit, and also a really great max candidate as you don't really want to max Zacian or Calyrex. So really taking advantage of that. Weezing really great here, using that neutralizing gas to stop abilities. The spread does let you live a max water, or not a max water spout, a water spout from Kyogre, as well as a behemoth blade from Zacian, assuming it doesn't have +1 or there's no rain. You do have Taunt and Will-O-Wisp, just a pretty standard set. Next up, we do have Defiant Thunderous, so just an option if you don't want to bring Regigigas. You do have the ability to get those Airstream boosts. You also do have that Max Darkness, which can really help Calyrex just being able to fire off incredibly strong Astral Barrages. Brick Break if you finish your max and need to deal with screens, so just a really good option there. And then finally, we do have Suicune. So Suicune is going to be a Tailwind setter, and the idea behind that was Whimsicott felt a little too passive. So Suicune, while you don't get the prankster immediacy of Tailwind, you do have really good support in Snarl, Scald, and Ice Beam, which I thought was just really huge. Also, having Inner Focus means that you can lead it against Incineroars and have a really good time there. So like I said, another team designed for best of threes, and we will have the code on the screen. So yeah, there's that. So, oh, sorry, nope. So next of all, we do have the Solgaleo Palkia team. This was a team that I had used for the VCL a couple weeks back, mainly as the idea to counter a lot of Zacian Kyogre teams. So talking a little bit about it, first of all, we do have that Solgaleo with the weakness policy, and you are going to be triggering it primarily with that Entei using a Bulldoze. You also do have access to Shedinja with Shadow Sneak. And the main idea is Solgaleo is going to be able to outspeed Kyogre. It also has a very favorable matchup into things like Zacian. So really, especially after that speed drop, just really being able to fire off a ton of damage and use Solgaleo's natural bulk to survive. Next up, we do have Telepathy Palkia. So this is another really great partner next to both Solgaleo and Entei. So Entei being able to fire off those bulldozes, letting Palkia be faster, and then hit really hard with things like Spatial Rend, Hydro Pump, and Earth Power. And also you could be next to Solgaleo, right? If Solgaleo wants to go for an Earthquake, you don't necessarily have to worry about that, and you can fire off some big damage. So I thought these two were a really solid core. They do sort of mimic, the Zacian Kyogre that you do see very commonly, but there is the fact that these two just have a better matchup into those two. And so Entei similarly has a very good matchup into a lot of things. That Choice Scarf means you're going to outspeed Calyrex and can drop its speed and hit it really hard with Solgaleo before it can move. Sacred Fire, great tech. Stone Edge, really, this is for Zapdos and Thundurus. Because of the fact that we have Shedinja, which is so threatened by those two in particular, I really wanted to opt for Stone Edge. Same with Solgaleo, we are going with Stone Edge over Wild Charge just because I am more worried about Thundurus than I am about Kyogre. Also having access to Max Rockfall means that you have the advantage over most Incin, which are carrying Shukaberry, right? Just not having to worry about that. Next up, we do have Whimsicott. So Whimsicott being able to set up that Tailwind, really sort of helping out with speed control. We do have Energy Ball, mainly for Gastrodon. It also can do a ton of damage to both Kyogre and Groudon, and definitely not something a lot of them expect. And then finally Taunt, so just another way really of stopping Gastrodon in particular from going for things like Yawn, and just really just nice support there. So next up, we do have Shedinja. Shedinja's awesome. We did stick it with safety goggles, just with the idea that there's a lot of weather going around. In particular, we have access to Rockfall. KO'd with that. Will-O-Wisp, just some great tech, and then Shadow Sneak as another way to trigger the Solgaleo weakness policy. And finally, we do have Zapdos. Once again, we are sticking it with, that Citrus Berry. This is a much more offensive variant than the last one. We do have Eerie Impulse, just with the idea that we're going to outspeed Kyogre. Being able to drop its special attack before it can move is a really big deal. So this is the Solgaleo Palkia team. We did use it once. We're going to be using it a little bit more, and I'm really excited to play some more games with it. So next up, we do have Zygarde, Dialga. So this is a team that I really am excited for to show all of you, because of the fact that I think it's such a different concept than a lot of other teams, where I feel like in GS Cups, typically it's going to be very fast paced. You have a lot of games that are over by turn 2, turn 3, like it's not common to see games go past turn 4, and this team kind of does the opposite of that. It's designed, while yes, you do have Zygarde with the weakness policy, to be just as bulky as possible, right? When we look at it, we have Zygarde with access, we have both of our restricteds with access to Steel Spike and Quake, with the idea of boosting defense and special defense, right? So it's just, hey, we're gonna get Zygarde really beefy using that Draining Kiss, but then we're gonna stack up those defenses, right? We're gonna go for Steel Spike, we're gonna go for Quake, we're really gonna make it so Zygarde can hang around. But we're still threatening with a lot of damage, right? Like Zygarde does have the weakness policy, so it can hit hard, but have that survivability. Similarly with Dialga, it does have the ability to survive a lot of hits, but it is going to be dealing out a ton of damage, especially with that Life Orb. And the rest of the team really is just trying to help with that survivability. So obviously we do have Comfey being able to trigger that weakness policy with Zygarde. It also does have Floral Healing as a way to heal up once these two have really started to get going. We also have Helping Hand. Once again, we do want to balance that hyper offense as well as that survivability. And we do have Trick Room, right? Like this team isn't the fastest. It also has a lot of things that function really well under Trick Room. So being able to set that up, I thought was really huge. Next up, we do have Incineroar. Incineroar, it just felt obviously like a very good fit. We do have access to Parting Shot and Intimidate just to really weaken our opponents. And like I said, the main goal is really just to support Zygarde and Dialga getting as bulky and also hitting as hard as possible. Next up, Amoonguss. Similarly, we're going for the ability to pivot out. We do have access to Pollen Puff, so another way really to heal up Zygarde and Dialga and say, hey, we're playing the long game. We're trying to just get as much damage and survive as many hits as possible. So Amoonguss, great for redirection, great for that Spore, great for healing up, just it offers a ton. And finally, we do have Rotom Wash. So this gives us a Fire, Water, Grass core with Incin, Amoonguss, and Rotom. It also has access to Levitate, which is great when Dialga and Incin are going to have to be wary of Max Quakes. We do have Will-O-Wisp, once again, just really trying to let us outbulk of our opponents. We do have Thunderbolt, really great option for things like Kyogre. And finally, Hydro Pump, just a standard strong hit with Rotom. So this is the team. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to use. Definitely, I feel like a very different style than what is normally seen during a GS Cup. So this is the team for that. And then finally, we do have, like I said, I do want to try and do some dual restricteds like from the same generation. This time, it is going to be one of the more stronger ends with Groudon and Kyogre. I know that Kyurem Zekrom is a little bit more interesting. We'll definitely try and get as many as we can. I know because I missed a month, I don't think I can hit everything, but we'll try our best. So first of all, we do have the Citrus Berry Groudon. I did want Assault Vest, but I felt like Assault Vest was just better on Kartana. So the Citrus Berry, while not giving us the same longevity as we would get from Assault Vest, still really helping out. We are going with 4 attack options, really with the idea that all of them have their use, right? Precipice Blades and Rock Slide are our main hitters. High horsepower for those times where we just need to prioritize accuracy over damage, like in a 1v1. And finally, Fire Punch, just a really great fire option. So next up, we do have Kyogre. So we are opting with Mystic Water Kyogre with Origin Pulse, Water Spout, Ice Beam. I think a lot of Kyogres have opted for Thunder, but given the fact that we do have a Regieleki in the back, I felt like Ice Beam was just the nicer choice because it does give better coverage. Next up is Kartana. So Kartana is where we end up with the Assault Vest. Just a very, very strong offensive threat. Has the ability to shred through teams very, very easily. It has Smart Strike, Aerial Ace, Leaf Blade, Sacred Sword, like incredible coverage. Can really help set up for the rest of the team. Functions well in both rain and sun, which is not something you see very commonly. And really sort of the max, are the main Dynamax candidate here. Next up, we have Charizard. So Charizard also another great Dynamax candidate, especially if you're going just pure sun, right? Being able to fire off those big hits using that Life Orb with the Wildfire, with the Airstream, and also the Rockfall to help deal with opposing Charizards. I know Charty Berry is becoming very common, but between that and Groudon, you should have a very good matchup into a lot of opposing Charizard. So yeah, other really good Dynamax candidate there. I was considering Weather Ball, but I think it just felt very lackluster a lot of times, and I think that having Ancient Power it felt better. We are doing Heat Wave and Air Slash, mainly because of the fact that I think a lot of these things can Dynamax, and having something that's useful both in and out of Dynamax was important. So next up, we have Whimsicott. Whimsicott is, it's there to set up Tailwind. We do have Helping Hand, really sort of putting on a lot of damage really quickly. We do have some big hitters here. This team is just about hitting as hard as you can. It's very hyper offense, so utilizing just the pure damage that you can get out of Whimsicott, I thought was great, and also just having that general support. Finally, we do have another max candidate in Regieleki. I thought having access to an electric type was really important. I think it gives really great answers for the Kyogre Mirror, and just overall, I think another form of speed control while still dealing a ton of damage, right? Like it's not as passive as Whimsicott, and it really helps with the damage there. We do have Electro Web, Thunderbolt, and we do have Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam is mainly if we want to max it and deal with Gastrodon, so we're not just completely dead in the water to that. So this is the team. It is using those dual weather Mons, which I thought was pretty cool. So once again, we do have the Kyogre Zacian, we do have Zacian Calyrex, Solgaleo Palkia, Zygarde Dialga, and Groudon Kyogre. I will make sure to have all of the pastes as well as the codes in the description so people can check those out. And then just quickly about the giveaway, this is going to be the last time I'm doing it. It's a lot of work, and I feel like a lot of people don't know that I'm doing it. So I would rather just go back to focusing on other things. If there is an interest, I think I'll start it again, or maybe if the channel blows up, I'll bring it back. But as of right now, we're gonna finish it here. But I do want to obviously announce the winners. So in first place for the shiny Incineroar, that goes to Dango VGC. In second place, which was that shiny Rotom Heat, that is going to go to Tom Elefante. And finally, third place, that shiny Gastrodon, that is going to I Like Cheese 777. So congratulations to all of you. I will make sure to reach out. Definitely make sure to check out the teams. We'll be playing some cool games with them. And yeah, with that, I hope all of you are wonderful. And until next time, I'll see you then.